you doing, guys? Today I am going to do some physical reassembly, final reassembly for the steering box on my 1954.
Quick interjection, guys. I just picked up the engine from the machine shop. It looks awesome. Can't wait.
Wheel Horse Senior. First up, what I've done off camera is I went ahead and there's two bushings that get pressed down into this bore of the steering box, and that's what supports the pivot arm. I just cut them down to 1 inch each, and then just sanded them to make sure that they're ready to go in. We'll go ahead and we'll use the Dake press to press those in. One thing I did, which I lost a video of, which sucks, but on the pin there was a lot of wear on one side and a little bit of wear on the other side, and that's where that pin engages in the worm gear like this. Okay, I just hit it with my welder a little bit, built it up, and then used a file to file it down, and I think I nailed it pretty good. It fits the worm gear almost perfectly. So unfortunately I lost all that video. I accidentally deleted it, but the pin is all fixed and ready to go. I did go ahead and make a gasket for the side cover plate. I'm using just a piece of felt, just standard gasket material that comes in a roll. Pretty simple process. Made an outside pattern, and then what I did was to make the inside cut. Let me put that there. Oops! I just took a piece of paper and ran my finger along the inside. This sharp edge, obviously made a ridge in the paper. Cut the template out. I use this as the internal template, and then cut that out. I just did it with a utility knife and a new blade. I used a pair of scissors on the outside. All the inside cut and the bolt holes, I used a brand new utility blade in a utility knife. Okay, everything is cleaned and ready to go for the most part, so I'm going to do one more. I'm just going to lightly Scotch-Brite this inner bore, make sure it's good and clean. Then I'll clean the inside of the box out real good to make sure there's no debris. We'll oil up and we'll press those bushings in. Both bushings are pressed in, but they are pretty tight. The actuator arm that I'm calling it, it's super tight, and it's just from the bushings getting squeezed into the bore. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little brake hone here, and I'm going to go ahead and hone those out to a point where I can get the arm to slide in nice and actuate real smooth. That'll also allow grease to get down in there too, so it'll be lubricated. So let me go ahead, let's get that brake hone on the drill, and we'll get that arm to fit real nice. Bushings are installed and they look great. I did have to hit them with a little bit of sandpaper in a couple spots because there were a couple high spots, and then ran the hone in and out until I got it to fit what I believe is really good. The arm slides in. There's just gets to right where the flush, this is lined up with the side cover, and it moves really smooth. So I'm super happy about that. There we go. I might hone it just a little bit more just to get a little bit more clearance in there, because it does get a little bit tight in a few spots, but overall that looks great. There's barely any movement in the arm itself. Same with the back portion. So it should get plenty of lubrication. So that is done. All right, I'm just gonna quickly finish that up, and then we'll clean it all up, and then we'll install some bearings on the steering shaft. Next up, I need to put the bearings on the upper and lower portion of the worm gear. Basically, this setup is 10 balls. This is the upper race, which goes into this position. The lower race is actually machined into the worm gear itself. And then there's this clip that holds everything in place. The issue with the top bearings, you got to deal with the the steering shaft itself. In other words, I got to run this all the way down, then run that all the way down. I'm going to use a little bit of grease and fill the race up with grease, so that way the balls will hopefully not fall all over the place while I'm fighting to get this clip into place. So let me go ahead, get some screwdrivers and line this up, and I'm going to do the top one because that's the hardest one. And the lower one, this one usually doesn't fight me too bad because you don't have the big long shaft in the way. All right, let's get her done. All right, worm gear is all together. Got both the bearings in. This one, oh, not this one, sorry. This one really fought me. I ended up gouging my knuckle. It was a disaster. I'm glad I didn't film it, but all the bearings are back in place. The retaining rings are all in place. I got the cap on with my shim that I needed. These are all tightened down. I did put a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts so that way nothing moves around. It moves super smooth and basically, in my opinion, perfect. I couldn't have asked for that to come out better. I'm going to go ahead and start to pack this full of grease, lubricate the bushings, and put the adjustment arm in place so that way I can start to bolt the cover on. All right, I have the arm in place, cap is on, I've packed it full of grease, rotating the worm gear around to get all the grease down to the bottom. Then I packed it as much as I could, slid the adjustment arm in, and then repacked it even tighter with grease. I'm going to go ahead and get the gasket out and drop that on, put the side cover on. I'm going to snug down the bolts. It doesn't have to be at 250 foot-pounds. It just needs to be snugged down tight so the adjustment screw can go and touch the actuator arm. So let me go ahead, get that done, and then we can start working on the upper tube. Sorry about the lighting, but I have the steering box loosely affixed to the tractor just to make sure everything works out. Got the side cover in with the adjustment screw. It's not adjusted, it's just right there. It's just finger tight, just to keep the actuator arm from sliding around in the box. But the bolts are all tightened down, gaskets in place. I got a new grease fitting on top. I did put the grease seal in the shaft, just tapped it in with a socket. You see me do that 1,000 times. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up because there's a bunch of grease on it. I'm going to make a mark right here with a marker because that's center. So in other words, the actuator arm is in the position where these wheels would be tracking straight. So I'm going to make a mark, just a witness mark, just so I know where that is. I'm going to go ahead and get the center tube and the steering wheel, and we'll see how this all looks. Alrighty, I got my thrust washers and my thrust bearing down in the tube, so that way when I put the spring, this whole thing spins real smooth and nice with the cap. I also went ahead and put the band clamp on and snugged it down so this center tube is mounted. I did put my little grease fitting in. I know that's not original, but I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting over so you can see, but I lined it up so when you're sitting on the tractor, it looks visually nice. Same with the clamp. But that's what I'm going to use to lube my upper bearing for, bearing width. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and loosely affix the steering wheel onto the column with the cap. There it is, sorry. With the cap. And then I'll show you how it all works. I moved the thing around without making my mark, so I'll have to figure out where the center is eventually at some other time, but I'm just so excited that this is working out fairly well. So let me get that steering wheel on. Let's take a look. And there it is. It's all finished and it works really smooth. Now granted, there's no load on the steering itself because I don't have it hooked up to the front wheels, but in general I think that's pretty darn clean. It was a bunch of work, but it was a bunch of work that needed to be done. And as you can see, there's the cap. It rotates perfectly with the steering wheel.
The top looks mint, looks perfect. I'm gonna redo my steering wheel, so it'll be all all the cracks will be gone. The black will be perfect. Everything looks really good. Actuates real nice and smooth. So I'm super stoked. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all your viewership. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. That definitely helps. The video number 1 and number 2, you know, I always enjoy watching or reading, other people's comments. So until next up is the engine. This week I am going to go over to the machine shop and ask them what the status is on the engine, because it's 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks next week. So that I dropped it off. So I'm going to go over there and see what the story is. I'm not going to be, not going to be a jerk or anything like that, but I am just going to ask them, what's the ETA? Because as of right now, that's what's left. The Senior needs its engine. All right. Have a great day. Thank you.